So first, I think that that whole sentiment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to keep his followers in fear is really a very contemporary one that has been instilled even even many probably from like certain cultural perspectives, and maybe even in how we kind of sometimes we try to make people to become more pious. We address them in a way that where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looked at as simply this, as one attribute, as only one aspect of himself, as being a punisher or something of the sort. And I think this is problematic. And I do see that there's a lot of assumptions built into the question as well. And I don't know where the sentiment is coming from necessarily, but I will try to address why I think it is problematic. So first, I want to note that, so to get to the bottom of the issue here, that in Islam, non-Muslims don't simply go to hell because they're born non-Muslims or because they just happen to be non-Muslims. They have to have, the only reason they go to hell is if they don't have a valid excuse. For example, if they're not ignorant, or if they have no access to the truth, then of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show mercy to them, right? So it's not simply based on your identity that a person goes to hellfire. In fact, the Quran says very explicitly that hellfire is for the arrogant, for those who don't fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that have no sense of like humility in their hearts for the truth, right? So these individuals are not simply just, oh, I happen to be Hindu or I happen to be Buddhist or whatever. No, it's much deeper than that in our theology, in our aqidah. Likewise, I think the issue here is that when you talk about fear, and is fear always necessarily connected to being some sort of dictator? A dictator rules by their nafs. They rule by oppressing people. The fear that people get from a dictator is because of the oppression, the injustice that they feel, right? But if you live in a civilized society, if you live in a society that grants justice, right, the type of fear that is there, the type of fear of violating the law, that is more like a fear of violating your own morality, your own principles, the things that you agree with, of violating truth. So you should fear. Fearing a law, fearing falling into falsehood, fearing violating morality, that's a healthy fear. That's a correct fear. That is a just fear that we should have as Muslims. So just because we are told that we should fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should fear being punished, this doesn't necessitate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a dictator, astaghfirullah, right? It doesn't necessitate that at all. I mean, you live in a society right now. Are there not rules that you agree to? Are there not punishments that you agree to? Do you not believe that murderers should be killed? Do you not believe rapists should be jailed? Do you not believe these things? Should they not fear those things? Should you not fear those things for yourself? You agree with that fear. You accept that fear because that is a righteous fear. So let's not assume that fear is similar to tyranny or to oppression. There are various forms. So when we say fear Allah subhanahu, we're not saying fear Allah because of an oppressive sentiment. We're saying fear Allah because that is the truth. And as a human being, not just as a Muslim, but as a human being, you should fear being upon falsehood. You should fear being against the truth. Right? So when you say, well, this person does good deeds, but if they do not do good deeds based on the right intention, if they do good deeds based on falsehood, is it really a good deed? Because Islam is not simply about action. It's also about your intention. It's about where you're coming from, your motivation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you your talents. He gave you your intellect. He gave you your morality. And if somebody's going to go in the afterlife and say, no, I did it myself, that is a profound form of arrogance. I deserve to go to heaven. It doesn't matter what truth I was upon. I deserve because I fed a poor person. There has to be a difference. This sentiment, and I'm not saying you necessarily, sister, but I'm saying the sentiment is almost like a very postmodern one, that the truth doesn't matter. What matters is your actions. But it's the truth that defines the value of our actions in reality. It is not ourselves. Because if it's society and ourselves, then we are saying that we are God, we're Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we are equivalent, that we are putting ourselves as partners to Him, that we can judge what is valuable. And I think that is a big problem. So yes, I do believe, yes, that somebody who knows the truth deserves to be punished for it. They deserve to be punished because that is the very foundation of everything that they are as a human being. So that's how I would say it. And, I hope you didn't take offense to what I've said, but please try to re-examine these things. Try to think in a more balanced manner, and you'll see what I'm saying is not off the is not off any sort of manhaj or anything, you'll understand.